Today we're checking out the Cloudvocal ISOLO GT-10, which is, get ready for it, it's a combination condenser mic, wireless unit, preamp, equalizer. It has an input here for a pickup from your instrument, so you can blend the mic and the pickup together if you want to. It also has a bunch of built-in digital effects like reverb, delay, and modulation. So not only is this a great all-in-one solution for someone who just needs that fantastic sounding, clean, authentic acoustic guitar sound, just louder, but it also works for someone who wants to build a larger rig. You can output a balanced line level output to go direct to a console, or you can actually pad it down to an unbalanced microphone level output for use with external guitar pedals. So this would be the first piece in your larger acoustic rig if you wanted to. This is going to be a relatively long video, so feel free to check out the timestamps in the description if you just want a quick answer to a specific question that you have. Right now we're just going to take a listen to it. There is a product link in the description if you want to read more as we listen here. In this next section, we're going to listen to the Cloudvocal microphone with no EQ, no reverb or anything, just compared directly to, first off, we have an SM57 over here, which is your practical solution for miking an acoustic guitar in a live situation. Still, you can't really work with monitors that are too loud. You might need to have in-ears or be on a very quiet stage, and you're also going to have the issue of proximity, right? If you're a really good player, is going to be able to work that, approach the mic when they want to pop out a little bit in the mix and kind of mix the band himself, back up when you want to sit down. That's not practical for every scenario, but I did want to provide this as reference to see what the built-in microphone here sent wirelessly to the receiver compares to the classic SM57. And then just for reference, so we have an idea of what this guitar sounds like in person in the room, we have a Shep-style condenser microphone. This is the MBHO 440. A really excellent microphone, and obviously one that you can really only use in a quiet environment like this. This is not practical for a live situation in any sense. This is just kind of meant to share with you what the guitar sounds like so we can compare it to the SM57, and then finally the condenser mic inside the guitar. So let's take a listen. Next up, I'm going to take the pickup that's in my guitar. It's a K&K Pure Mini. It's just a very simple 3-transducer system, very minimalist, doesn't affect the natural sound of the guitar. And I'm going to plug that into the pickup input. So a lot of people like to blend a pickup with a microphone to kind of get the best of both worlds, right? We know a microphone obviously sounds the most authentic, but it's not great in a scenario where you've got a very loud stage, there's a lot of bleed from other instruments happening, and maybe you even have like some issues with feedback. A pickup does not sound as good as a microphone, it never will, but it does have the benefit of being able to be used in a much louder environment. So what some people like to do is blend those two signals, and anyway, let's get on to it. We'll listen to the pickup by itself, and then I'm going to blend it 50-50. If you want to listen to a great example of a really nicely blended pickup and microphone on an acoustic guitar, check out the Billy Strings rig rundown on Premier Guitar's channel from a few years ago. If you're not aware of him, he is like a really awesome new school bluegrass player. He plays a D45, similar guitar to this, and he actually has the same K&K Pure Mini pickup running into a Grace preamp. And then he has a very expensive Audio-Technica mic on a gooseneck that he gaff tapes right here. Hangs inside the sound hole, and both cables run out a snake into the Grace preamp, and that's how he blends it. So talk about that couple $1,000 rig versus what you're getting here. I'd love to know your thoughts on that. The GT-10 has two main components to it. So the receiver with all the built-in controls here, and then what we're going to focus on briefly right here, which is just the transmitter and microphone. So this is an electret condenser microphone. The preamp is powered with a lithium battery, which is advertised as anywhere from 5 to 7 hours of life. Mine's brand new, so it's working great. Fits right in that zone, 7 hours, no problem. And you can recharge it with a micro USB cable, which is provided. On the transmitter, we've got a 3-way switch to select different gain levels. If you're a really heavy-handed strummer, I would select the middle one. If you're someone who's playing a little bit more delicately, I usually have a pretty light touch on the acoustic guitar, or if you're playing fingerstyle, switch that to the highest setting. You want to put down and send as much signal as possible through the wireless connection so that when you amplify it later in the receiver, it's not also amplifying the noise. You want to amplify it here as little as possible. So I recommend checking it out. If you decide to get this thing, set it to the highest setting, play as loud as you expect to most of the time, and if it sounds good, leave it there. If it's distorting or compressing just a little bit, bump it down to the next setting. I can't imagine using the lowest setting for any reason, really, unless you're on a super loud stage, in which case you're probably going to want to use a pickup instead of a microphone. The transmitter also does have this single button here, which is used to power on the unit, press and hold it, or press and hold to turn it off. Or if you need to switch frequencies, if you experience any interference or added noise, press it once quickly. This will find a new frequency. Transmitter already knows this could be all the way on the side of the stage. You wouldn't need to touch it. This will automatically find that new frequency. Onto the receiver, we've got the preamp control the gain here. We've got a master volume. We also have the 2-band EQ, treble and bass. We'll get into that in a second. The effects section, which has 8 different algorithms and a blend between the wet and dry signal. We have an input for a line in or a pickup here. So you would plug in from your guitar and then use this gain control to set the correct gain, and then use the wireless gain control to kind of blend in and find a nice balance there if you want to use them both together. Or you can actually not even use the wireless at all. So we have that option. It's powered with a standard 9-volt center tip negative connection. Any guitar pedal is basically going to power this, double check always, but it does come with its own power supply, so probably you won't have to worry about that. The output here on the side is going to provide either a balanced line level output, so you would use this cable that it came with, which is a TRS to male XLR, to plug directly into the stage snake or recording device, whatever you're using, and you would keep the master volume relatively high there. Or if you wanted to use this with external guitar pedals, just take the master volume down and use a standard unbalanced connection. It's going to work fine. It also comes with this cable, which is just a normal guitar cable, and you would plug into other effects if you wanted to. We have a switch here for range boost. So with this switch not engaged, we're using the standard setting here. So this is going to be a slightly more limited range with lower latency and a more full frequency response from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. If you press this in, it cuts out everything over 16K, so we're not hearing some noise. I also hear, they didn't advertise it, but I hear that it cuts out a little bit of low end. Not a huge deal if you're playing acoustic guitar, because there's a lot of rumble in that low range that's not useful anyway. It adds a little bit more latency, up to 20 milliseconds, which to most people is not noticeable, but you're going to get a much larger distance. You should know that the wireless is operating on a 2.4 gigahertz network. I'll talk more about that later. It has its benefits and drawbacks, but mainly there should not be anything interrupting the line of sight from the transmitter to the receiver. You know, a person walking in between, that's not an issue. But if you have this side stage or below a drum riser or something hidden away and there's large metal objects in between, you're going to probably run into some interference or experience it cutting out every now and then. We do have an auxiliary input. So for example, if you were a singer-songwriter playing out at a bar and they only had 2 inputs for you for some reason, you could actually plug in your backing tracks from the auxiliary input. For example, you could plug in the blend, the pickup here from your guitar. You could use the wireless, and then that's all coming just through one input, right? and then you still have one input separately for your voice. So that's kind of useful. It's also a little mixer. You can have up to 3 different inputs. We have an input here for mute switch. So you would use an external controller to mute this if you wanted to. In my opinion, it'd be nice to have a little button on here, but you could just reach over and turn down the master control to minimum. That's going to cut the signal entirely. Then when you're finished messing around, just boost it back up to where it was before. And then lastly, on the top of the unit, we have sync in and sync out. This is if you're using multiple units here. Just make sure that they're not going to interfere with each other. And then finally, the place where you attach the antenna. A few other things the kit came with is a 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch adapter. I think this is the Hosa one. I've got a few that look just like it. It's actually pretty reliable. A lot of these are junk, but this one's decent. The power cable also has UK and European connectors, in addition to the North American Edison connector that it comes with. If for any reason you wanted to stick on the wireless kit directly to your instrument or something else, it does come with 2 self-adhesive pads and also carrying cases here. We've got a small one maybe for the cables and the smaller parts, and then a larger one here for the transmitter receiver or whatever else you wanted to throw in this kit. So real quick, let's just take a listen to the sound hole cover mount versus the more open one. Up next, I want to talk about the EQ section here. So both are shelf controls, which means that they're going to boost or cut everything below their respective values. The bass control is set at 200 hertz, and the treble control is set at 2 kilohertz. Both are fantastically useful frequencies for acoustic guitar. The bass is really going to give you a lot of that body, or if you want to cut it back, it might take away some of the muddiness that is present with using the full sound hole cover. And then the treble is just going to be able to give you a lot of that nice high-end definition that can be useful in a full band mix. An experienced guitarist, acoustic guitarist, will tell you that, here's a great example, like Dave Matthews Band. That has a very prevalent role, the acoustic guitar, but it's a huge band, and acoustic guitar is such a complex instrument. Sometimes a good solo acoustic guitar sound just playing by yourself is not what you want in a full band, something that sounds really full frequency. So what a lot of the mix engineers will do is actually they'll cut down on the low end, so it frees up space for some of the other instruments that have more relevant information down there. They'll boost a lot of the high end so that you can still hear the nice pick attack, and it gives you the sense that the guitar is very forward in the mix without cluttering everything. And that's exactly what this 2-band EQ is meant to do. So let's just take a listen. I'm going to boost and cut the bass control and then do the same with the treble. Now, realistically, those extreme settings are not going to be, practical at all to use. They can sound kind of bad. So you want to stick to something a little bit more conservative. Like this is a great setting that I've found that works with this guitar and the strings I'm using and the sound hole cover. It's going to change for everyone. You might find that if you're a solo acoustic guitarist in a pub or something, or you're just singing along, or maybe you're playing like some solo acoustic to guitar music, boosting the bass is a great way to kind of like make it sound like your guitar is a little bit larger and really help fill out the space. So that's just kind of my thoughts with the EQ. It can be very useful to counteract having that full sound hole cover, boost a lot of treble, cut back some of the muddiness. It's just a nice 2-band EQ to have there. Real quick, I just want to run through the 8 effects that we have built in here. I don't think this is a huge selling point of the unit. It's there, it's nice to have, but it's not like a reason to get it for sure, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. 8 different algorithms. We've got a few reverbs, a combo delay and reverb, also a chorus, and a flanger. So the effects parameter here changes depending on what effect that you're using, and just to keep things quick, I'm going to set it around 10 or 11 o'clock and we'll just go. The blend control at 100% wet here, it's really more like 50-50, so I'm just going to leave this pretty high so you can hear what the effect's doing. Yeah, let's just take a listen. 'If I've missed anything in this demo that you've been wondering about, leave me a comment down below. I'm usually pretty good at getting back to people, and then also that information's there for the next person. Something I like to do on this channel with all the product demos that I put out is I want to provide a little bit of criticism. So you can be a little bit more aware going in on some things that might affect you or some things that might be kind of irrelevant to what you're planning on using this for. The first thing I noticed is as I was reading a bunch of the Amazon reviews, some people had complained that the antenna had broken within a few months of use. I was able to find replacement antennas. You can get 2 of them for $6. It seems sturdy. You take it off after use, right? So it doesn't have the chance to get snapped off or something. I think just take care of it. You're going to be good. I was also able to read a ton of reviews that mentioned the warranty that the company provided. It was effortless to go through, and they got the replacement pretty quickly. I also noticed that the pickup input here on the side was a little bit noisy, even when I wasn't plugging into it. Now, with my pickup plugged in, I do have a very low output, high impedance pickup, so that could have been a fault of my pickup not being totally compatible with something like this. The signal to noise ratio was not bad at all. You don't notice the noise when you're playing, but just sitting there quietly, you can notice a little bit of hiss. So if you're using just the wireless microphone here, turn the gain down on the side completely so you don't have any added noise there. And if you're using a pickup in combination with the mic, boost the volume on your guitar if you're able to maximum volume before you send it in here so you don't have to use this preamp, which is a little bit noisy just for that one. The mic preamp is clean as heck. Now, this last thing I want to mention is just based on the fact that this is a beautifully designed and thought out product. The weakest link, I think, is that the fact that the wireless is operating on a 2.4 gigahertz network. You might experience some added noise or interference. In the case that I did have that in one venue that I tried, I just pressed the linking button on the transmitter. It picked a new frequency, and then this one found it. I fixed it in like 10 seconds. I would love to see a version of this product identical, except for the fact that it operates on a radio band frequency, RMF signal. That's going to push the price of it over twice as much as it is now, but I think it's seriously deserving. Be cool to see 2 different versions. One a little bit more affordable on 2.4 gigahertz, and then one on a radio frequency. Just my thoughts. So there it is, the Cloudvocal ISOLO GT-10 wireless condenser mic, preamp, EQ, combo, reverb, pickup, blend, unit thing. I think for the price, this is a lot more expensive than a lot of people are willing to pay, but I tried to defend that a little bit in this video. I think it is really nicely designed. They used a lot of high quality components in the preamp and the EQ section, although the wireless aspect of it is still kind of consumer grade. It is reliable in most situations. Pretty much every time I play out, I use an internet band wireless kit, and it's pretty reliable. So take the criticism where it's due. I also like to give praise where praise is due. My terms personally with doing product demos is if it's just really not a great product or it's really overpriced, I'm not going to publish the video. I think something like this is going to be useful to a lot of people, and so I just wanted to share it with you and help you make an informed decision here. So I really hope this video was helpful to you. I have a ton of videos just like this one. We're just talking about different pickups on acoustic guitars, different string sets, trying to get a nice amplified sound, which can be pretty difficult. A lot of videos on impulse responses if you haven't gotten into that yet, digital modeling units for use with acoustic instruments. Anyway, if that interests you, check it out on my channel. Maybe consider subscribing. Leave a like down below, it helps me out, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.